Welcome, this is Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co. I'd like to thank you for stopping in, checking me out today. So today's project's kind of interesting, and it's one that I've been looking forward to for a little bit. And it's a collection of some homebrews that I've been holding on to for about the last year. Some of these are probably like within days and weeks of crossing that 1 year mark. So they're really close to 1 year. The rest of them are definitely have gotten past that 1 year mark. So first off, if my voice sounds like it's kind of getting a little bit weird, I could be getting sick. We've had a lot of crazy weather in my local area here recently. I've been trying to avoid getting sick, trying to, drink lots of water and stuff during the day. So bear with me if my voice sounds a little weird. I'm gonna try to power through this and hopefully not get sick after it's all said and done. So the first beer that I want to talk about before we open it up, let's go over some of the notes that we took while we drank this, or some notes that have kind of accompanied this beer through some friends and stuff like that. Now, it's not a beer that's really been debuted on my channel here, at least not yet. I don't really know if I will. We've talked about it before in the Venture homebrewing collaboration video where we just tasted and swapped each other's beers back and forth a little bit. But this is the same recipe as the Father's Day Stout. It's my birthday stout. We're coming up real close to my birthday, and so it's time for me to rebrew that again and have that on tap for the friends that are coming over for my party. But I let this one age out to be right at a year old. So this is kind of more or less my home recipe, my home blend of it. And so I only brew this thing with Kveik yeast, and I will normally swap it back and forth between like Lutra and Hothead. Those are the only ones that I've ever really used on this recipe. When I first developed it, I think I did one round of US-05 on it. So the notes that we normally get with it are chocolate, coffee, and a maltiness on the aroma. The mouthfeel is normally about a medium. I've been told that it kind of has a very smooth mouthfeel and a creaminess to it. As you can see, it's got a good little head still going on. As far as the taste, it's been noted as being malty, roasty, a little nutty, and that it's been kind of perfectly balanced as far as the bitterness ratio goes in it. And then some chocolate and some coffee. So let's see how the aromas and all that, if any of it's changed. I've never really ever had this this stout last this long, and now that I keg and I don't bottle, things don't get lost in the freezer or anything like that. So on the nose here, it kind of seems to have kind of faded a little bit on some of the aromas. I'm getting little hints of chocolate, I'm getting little hints of coffee, but a lot of the aroma is kind of started to fade out of it, picking up like a little bit of the earthiness, and that's probably from like those East Kent Goldings, which from my understanding, hop aromas and stuff like that are supposed to deteriorate over time. So do smell like a little bit of like alcohol to it. So as far as the mouthfeel goes, I think we're still definitely in that medium territory. I don't have a problem with that. So as far as the taste goes, we got some of that maltiness. There's a little bit of sweetness left. As far as that goes, I think I seem to remember this to be kind of a little bit more malty and sweet up front, but it's given away to the kind of coffee and the chocolate taste. It's still a good beer. I think it's definitely way better fresh, for sure. I don't know where that limit was. I sampled some of these things when they were probably about 6 months old, and they were still trucking along pretty good then. So for the second beer, we have the Eggnog Stout. Now, some history on this one was, that was a pretty cool collaboration video I did with my friend Thomas from Craft Brew Hero. Again, this is another beer that we sampled on the Venture Homebrew collaboration, and this thing is a little overcarbonated. Let's give that a second here. All right, now that it's settled down a little bit, let's go ahead and kind of top this one off some. Now, if you, wow, look at that. This is gonna make a mess. Hold on one sec. So again, this is the collaboration brew from Craft Brew Hero and I. The last time we saw it was both on that particular video between Craft Brew Hero and the collaboration one with Venture and I, where we were swapping homebrews. So some of the notes there were that it was low carbonated at that time. So as a note here, these things have been stored at room temperature. Generally room temperature around here is 72. I'm sure they've never gotten past 75 as far as the temperature goes for storage. I've kept them all on boxes, out of the light, and all that. So it was an inspirational brew that we did as kind of like a holiday beer. And we were shooting for that kind of like classic like eggnog style beer. And so it was gonna be like a sweet stout. We toasted some wood chips for it and whatnot. It's still pretty dark, as you can see. So for the aroma, there was some of the notes that we've got off of it were that it was nutty, wine-like, and that let's see here, tannin. But other than that, I mean, earthiness was something else that it was picked up on, which again might be due to the hops. So the mouthfeel was medium to high body. Some of the other tasting notes were smooth, and that it was noted that it wasn't quite as balanced with the bitterness as the birthday stout was. Now we had to play with that one because of all the spice additions that we threw in there, and the bourbon and the wood chips that went into it. Let's see here. There was sweet, nutty, chocolate, complex as a indicator, and that it kind of reminded of like a baby Russian Imperial Stout. Not as hard heavy in the ABV as like a Russian Imperial Stout is, but just kind of reminiscent of it. So it's, you can't really smell anything too much there. It kind of almost smells like ice cream. So So I would still say that the body is still there as far as the medium to medium high bodied. Not quite like a thick viscous motor oil or anything like that, but it's definitely thicker than this as far as the body goes. This is a little light compared to this one. Still really smooth. I think that bourbon is really shining through this go round on it now that it's had some time to sit up and age. It's got a nice sweetness to it that's not malty, and I think that has to do with the bourbon and those or the bourbon that was in those wood chips that we soaked, and the lactose also that we used in this beer. I think age has really helped this one out. I really, wow. I kind of regret drinking as many as I did early on. I should have put those up. I was kind of worried about setting this one up because I'd never really cellared a beer before or anything like that. I didn't really know anything other than some of the guidelines that I had read that said, you know, the higher ABV and the darker the beer, the more likely that you're going to have a successful part in that, and or a more successful try at it. And I think this one turned out really good. I'm really happy with that. I'm going to have to kind of incorporate some more stuff like that into the brewing schedule. That's pretty awesome. Oh well, it's just gonna happen. Now we're gonna move into those like the lighter colored beers, the Saison, the Farmhouses, and whatnot. So this first one, this bottle's kind of didn't really fit in this caddy, so kind of gotta maneuver it easily. So so this one's the Coast to Coast Farmhouse edition, and it was basically the same recipe that I had been brewing that I used as kind of a test bed for the Saison Farmhouse, where I've been testing out the yeast, not really changing up the hops, but I've done some different stuff, turned them into raw ales and stuff like that, and been pretty successful and pretty happy with that. Seems like it's got really good carbonation. A little bit to style there, I think. Maybe could have stood to have a little bit more. Now this one was a little disappointing to me, honestly. When I first had it, I didn't think that it was quite expressive enough, and it was kind of bland and dull. Now I've been drinking these here just throughout the year in general because I like the style. It's really good, and I was curious of how the yeast changed throughout the year in the brew. This one has a yeast culture and from one side of America, and a Brett colony from the other side. And so it was pretty disappointed to me because I didn't feel like it was very expressive, and I've noticed as time's gone on that it's become better and better and better. So some of the notes that we took during the taste test and stuff was that once you kind of know what Brett smells like, you can smell it. And so that was something that I had picked up, and that this thing had kind of more of the horse blanket barnyard type smell to it. The mouthfeel was light to medium, and let's see here, at that point in time it had lower carbonation, had a thin white head. Let's see here, I felt like it was bland in the souring originally, and that we picked up some kind of earth like smells, that it wasn't, let's see here. It was light on sourness and not very tart. And so let's see how this thing has evolved. So we've got some very nice Brett smells here. Still got some of that earthiness, some of the barnyard there. It smells very tart, and it's funny how like your smell, or it's funny how your nose can pick up on things and trigger like all the glands in your mouth, because like my mouth is like salivating because I can't wait to drink this already. Like, I didn't know what a dry beer was, or really understood Saisons or Farmhouses or anything like that. Didn't know what they could be until I started brewing them, and I have really come to appreciate them and like them. Oh yeah. So we have a very nice light to light medium mouthfeel still, and man, the taste is phenomenal. It's really expressive right now. It's got a very nice light tartness that just kind of moves into just some sweetness. Like, you can still taste that malt backbone in here. Kind of have like a tart apple. This is awesome. This is really good. That's getting to be the bottom of the barrel of that one here. I think I might have like 2 left, and I'm gonna have to brew this again, and I'm gonna have to just forget that it exists for probably about 9 months. This is very good. Very, very good. So now we get into some of my like absolute favorite beers that I felt like kind of went a little bit unappreciated with some of the friends that I shared it with. Went a little bit unappreciated on the competition circuit when I entered them, but I know what that went into them, and I'm really happy. We're kind of really starting to get into that farmhouse style now. So this is Hell Saison, and this is the first Hell Saison that we brewed. So real quick, if you're not familiar with it, Hell Saison is a beer that I made. If you go back and you look at a video called Yeast Thief, I took some bottle Dregs, some farmhouse beers that are produced locally here in Texas, and I built that up as a starter, knowing that there's some bacteria in there, lacto and some other things. It's got a lot of things in it, and so it's a really interesting beer, so I wanted to see what I could do. This is the same recipe as the Coast to Coast one goes. Still carbonated. Maybe even a little bit on the higher side. So this one went like bone dry. Like, it was, I think the finishing gravity on it was like 0.998. Look at that. Beautiful color. So let's see here. Some of the notes that we took here was that it was dry, light to medium mouthfeel. This one did have a long fermentation. It took like 3 months for everything to come together on it. You could smell the souriness, the kind of funkiness, farmy, earthy. It had a peach and stone fruit taste to it. some tartness that reminded me a lot of shot tarts. And then I had split batched this, and we'll talk about that second beer that we made from this one here. So let's see how it held up. So that was the last beer of this batch, and I really need to get that going again, because that was a phenomenal beer in my opinion. So you definitely pick up on sourness. You pick up on that earthiness and the barnyard and the hay for sure. I don't think I can really add anything to the aroma. I think it's still dead on as far as that goes. Very dry, very light mouthfeel, and got a puckering effect back here. This is everything that I remembered it being, and maybe like more now. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Wow. So this is definitely got a lot of that like peach and other stone fruit characteristics on the taste buds. Like really really sour. This is really good. So this now tastes a lot closer to the original base beer that I stole the yeast out of, and has like kind of elevated it like another notch as far as like what I remember from that beer. It's just like a little bit more sour, a little bit more tart, a little bit more expressive. And I guess that's because that thing's had enough time to be bottle conditioned to just have all kinds of fun in that bottle. Which, this was a really good beer before now. And man, I guess this is another beer that I really need to brew and take another stab at about forgetting. Man, these high carbonation beers kind of getting to me. A little gas. So here's the second version of that first beer. And so on this version, what we did was we took some pear juice, I home roasted some pecans, and we took some vanilla beans, and we had a secondary fermentation on it. And so during that fermentation, we had a just huge pellicle come back up on it, and it ended up not finishing quite as dry as the first version here, but it was still fairly dry. It finished at, I didn't write it down here, but I want to say it was like 1.006 or something like that. And let me go ahead and get this glass ready just in case. So it's had a nice little hiss. We got some carbonation. I just wanted to see if we were going to have another one kind of be slightly overcarbed. So it looks like this one's actually pretty good. Kind of almost expected it to be like the second one, or this one here. So here we go. As you can tell, I don't think that this one looks too much different than the first one. I think the second version is just a tad bit clearer looking here. So on this one, the notes that we got were basically the same notes, farmy, the breath smell, maybe a little bit more fruity on the smells. And it had a sharp tartness that you could taste the pear in, the pear juice. So this one definitely has that breath smell, and I think it might even be a little bit more expressive than the first version. So the first version smells blander than the second version. That's interesting. I'm not picking up on any of the earthiness or that barnyard or anything like that. It smells tart. It triggers all those things in my taste buds that say tart, sour. And I don't really have any other like secondary aroma smells out of it. You can tell that this isn't quite as dry as that one still. Don't have that pucker either. But it just had a good tartness, just like across the top. Still pretty tart. I think I can barely make out that pear, and there is a little bit of sweetness just on the very tail end there that's hard to identify. So all in all, I'm really happy with the way that this has turned out. I'm going to try to practice a little bit more of aging some stuff, forgetting that some things existed. And I don't think that any one of these 5 beers really let me down. Probably the one that let me down the most was my birthday stout, my house recipe. Again, this thing doesn't really stick around for too long anyways. It's a good beer. It's still a good beer. But I think that aging all these has really helped them. And I'm kind of disappointed, one, that I didn't brew more of them, that I didn't put more up, and that I basically have no more of some of these examples. There's a few other examples in the back, but that are within the same territory of when I brewed them. It's just these were what I found the most interesting, at least to me. Man, what a wild ride that was, as far as all the expressions and stuff. So if you don't mind, let me know what your favorite aged homebrew is that you have, and maybe we'll try to trade some recipes. All these beers that I have here, I'll put those cards up. I'll put links in the description. If you have any questions about the recipes or whatever, let me know. All the recipes are in the original videos, so minus this one, but again, you can go look at the Father's Day Stout recipe and see that one. But man, I'm really happy with this. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and experiencing this with me. Again, let me know what your favorite aged home brew is and how old it is and how long it took you to get there with it. With all that said, cheers, guys. And there's a helicopter flying.